This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of
enough. You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for.
I was really confused when I first saw this. So Boss essentially, or Roland together with Boss, Roland owned Boss, same company. I saw this thing, they come out with these 8 recreations of some classic kind of Boss effects pedals, you know, like an OD1, an SD1, Spectrum, a phaser, a DS1, compressor sustainer, slow gear. That's probably covered most of them. Maybe, and an auto wah. So this comes out. Now I was kind of thinking that's interesting. So Boss have kind of retracted a bit. I think there's been some big changes at the company, and they're not really marketing in the way that they used to, but they've been doing things still, and I think it's quite interesting. And I was like, I want to try out these plugins because, you know, it's interesting to see Roland/Boss doing this. They've done the Space Echo and the JC120 as well, right? Now, typically what I think of Boss Roland as is kind of pretty well-priced gear and pretty affordable, and for that reason quite a good choice for pros, quite a good choice for, you know, even beginning musicians, intermediate, just a good choice all round, right? Then I see that basically this is free for Ultimate members, so I was like, right, let's try this. There's a trial, there's a 30-day free trial, and I sign up for it. It takes a process. You've got to put in your PayPal account or your credit card. And I just looked at my emails. I was like, this is going to renew on June the 16th, and it's going to cost me £18.78 a month to make use of this. And, you know, the reason that I was interested in this in the first place was just for 8 guitar-style effect plugins, right? Of which, you know, am I going to use them? So I'm not angry, boss. I'm just confused. And now, having dug into this a bit deeper, I kind of, and spoken to my buddy Alec, MIDI Man Scientist, Line 6 MIDI Man Scientist, or also Boss MIDI Man Scientist, he kind of pointed out, well, this maybe is a way for them to introduce you to a wider ecosystem that you didn't know about, and that is exactly what this is. Let's jump into this intro here, which is using, I think, all Boss stuff. You'll notice there's an 808 in here, there's a Juno in here, as well as I'm using the Space Echo, I'm using these effects pedals as well. But anyway. Right, £18.78 a month for these plugins. I would absolutely not pay that. I don't think it's worth it. And I think if this was what Boss were trying to do, I think this is not the best way to do it. I would pay an amount of money for these plugins. I think they're quite useful in some cases, and I think in some cases as well, which we'll get onto later. I'll do like a bit of a demo of these plugins. I think in some cases I felt like they actually sounded and felt better to play than the equivalent in Helix Native. So if I was using Helix Native, would I choose to use like a Boss version, digital version of the SD1? Potentially yes. Equally, for the sake of the amount of money that this would cost me on an ongoing basis, or the year, like 200 quid in a year basically, I could buy an SD1, I could buy a DS1, I could probably find a Boss phaser as well, right? And I'd have the physical versions, we'd probably be fine. They might not integrate into the workflow of a producer as well. And here is the real kicker. If you're into any sort of production at all, I think you're going to be quite surprised if you've not already found out about this Roland Cloud thing, because there's basically full working versions of like an 808 drum machine, which I was really quite impressed with. It plays as you play your DAW, so you can press space, it is there already kind of looping away like a drum machine would. Then I was like, what? Juno, I've heard that name before. I kind of just picked up Juno. I picked up just the default sounded really great. And then I found this little bit that said DAT ARP, and I was like, well, let's try that out. And to me, it was reminiscent of like the Ain't No Body arpeggio thing. And I was like, actually, I kind of get this now. Like, there's this cloud system. It's kind of like Native Instruments, which I already use. The kicker with it is that I use Native Instruments like you pay once and you're kind of in. This kind of Roland Cloud thing, I generally don't like this idea of a subscription-based model as much. Now, individually, like if you're buying Space Echo, it'd be $199, expensive. The Juno, I think, is $199 as well. They've also got like DW drum kits and stuff like that. So if you don't already have something like this, I reckon it might be worth checking out the free trial. I'm sort of tempted to maybe, I don't know, keep this going for a bit and see how it goes. But I get now what they're doing. Basically, there is this Roland Cloud thing where they've got software versions of all of their synths and loads of great stuff. They're trying to entice us to have a look at that. And if you're a producer, you might be really interested in this. Now let's jump into these like plugins, which I don't think are a huge selling point actually, but what's beyond the wall kind of is. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just still a bit confused, but I can see that there's something here for some people. Start recording. Now, here's what you get. I'm going into Helix Native at the front here. Kind of, it is what it is, right? You can see it. The cost is $19 a month to get access to this, I think. And I'm putting this in front of Helix Native, so in there. Right, so what other effects have we got in here? We got Spectrum. Slow gear, so this is quite a funky, if it works.
very expensive in real life. Touch wah. You can go back a few settings and stuff like that. Okay, then modulation wise, we've got a phaser. So we've got DS1. That's pretty cool. Right, what else have we got here? An overdrive one. Compressor to the tube screamer here. And SD1. So I wonder if it sounds much better than what's actually in the Helix for the Super Overdrive. So let me just jump in here. Distortion, Super Overdrive. So drive about halfway. I certainly like the way it looks. of, yeah, I don't know. Does it sound better to you? Maybe. Let's put this one like halfway on all of it. And I do think it maybe feels better than just, you know, a first glance. But would I pay $19 a month to have access to that? There are other things involved as well. So, like there is the Roland Jazz Chorus, standalone $199. What are they smoking? So it would cost me over the year $199. You know, to me, unless I'm a professional producer, I guess that's who this makes sense for. But is that money on top? You have to be an ultimate. If you've got ultimate, you get these things. There is a lot of other stuff here. I guess somewhat similar to like the Native Instruments approach. So yeah, that's semi-interesting. I think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you go for that, or yeah? Who is this for? I mean, in terms of value for money, I mean, that's not going to convince anyone to go from hardware to digital, right? I wouldn't like to see this being the way things are done going forward. I think, let me know what kind of value you see in that. Like, how much would you pay for, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 effects? How much would you be willing to pay for that? Love to know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers for stopping by.